Assalamu alaikum. I'm going live on portrait today. I thought, do you know what? A lot of people are scrolling. What's the best way of catching scrollers? It's actually by doing a live, which is portrait, which is more likely to appear on their channels. The other thing is, well, actually, there's quite a few things I wanted to go over. It's going to be a live stream in which I'm going to be interacting a lot more with you guys. Inshallah. We have brother Sikandar Azam. When is your book coming out? If exact date can be given. Before the end of the year, inshallah. Thank you for asking, brother Sikandar. Noah. Wa alaikum salam. Osama. Mubashir. How you ever saw evolution is taught in the IB program? What is the IB program? I don't know what that is. You're going to have to tell me what that is. Oops. Figuring out how to. Okay. Yeah, that makes it more comfortable. Okay. Inshallah, I'm going to be doing some Darwinism stuff on Sapiens. How you guys doing? Are you watching from Twitter? Are you watching from Twitter or YouTube? No, I'm not really sure about that, brother Ramiz. Long-term goal, yes, inshallah. Oh, nice. So it's nicely integrated with Twitter. Nice. Can you explain how DNA proves ID? I want to understand better. Okay, so firstly, don't use the word proof. We can say probabilities, right? It makes the theory of intelligent design more probable. That's a better way of putting it than proving. Now, DNA codes, right? And it codes for proteins. You have a very sophisticated process going on. You know, that process and all the intricate mechanisms needed to produce a cell, duplicate DNA, all this stuff. This is evidence of design. It stands out to you very clearly. Thoughts on the Alex clip? That's actually a very good question. So, I said this during the debate. I said that Alex is better than these new atheists, and he's moved away from new atheism. So I'm very happy about that. And recently, somebody in a WhatsApp group sent me a section of a video which had Alex speaking about our debate. And what he basically said is that when I use the consequentialist framework to input new variables, that if you want to maximize pleasure and minimize pain, which is his paradigm, then since we have evidence that belief in God leads to happiness, whether you believe it to be true or not, then why are you here arguing for God? That's one of the many things I said during the debate, and obviously I forgot about it years later, and I came across this clip, and he was actually thinking about it. So that was interesting. It's interesting that I got him to think. And yeah, That's good. I'm happy. I'm happy that he saw what argument I was trying to make. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Coolio. Were you scrolling, brother? Were you zombie scrolling? That's my question to you. Were you zombie scrolling, Mr. Coolio? Please debate with Professor Dave. Yeah, for 3rd of April, inshallah. We have that date set in the calendar. I started reading a new book by Yaqeen Institute on isms, and it states that belief in God is a necessary axiom for all reality to make sense. Can you explain the idea further? I'm not sure. How did I save you, brother? I'd like to know. Yeah, he's still an atheist. Um, I haven't read the book, but look, when you believe in God, we can explain something coming from nothing because there is no nothing. It came from God. The design of the universe, consciousness, morality, values, structure and order. You know, all these things can be explained if there is a God. Obviously, there is a God. Thoughts on farmer protest. I don't know much about it. I'm from Bangladesh. One of my friends is in Bangladesh right now. Just got married. Rightio. And new atheism's dead. Yeah, I think you're right. People have moved away. Who's better at making dad jokes? Ali or Zishan? I haven't really heard their dad jokes. Sadiq Malik X Sanatani. This is the Hinduism stuff, right? Um, Inshallah, he'll fail. He'll try it, but he'll fail. We know through a narration of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and I'm paraphrasing a narration that, um, you know, reflect deeply upon creation, do not reflect upon Allah because we cannot comprehend His essence except by believing in Him. So, you know, that's very, very clear. That's what you gotta do. Did the debate with Farina get delayed? Yes, it got delayed till April the 3rd next year, inshallah. You're gonna have to post again. I can't go back and look at the comments. Muslim proves Islam. What's your take on aliens? You tell me, brother. You tell me. Question for you guys. Do you guys use the Quranly app? The Quranly app is super important to build your habit of reading the Quran regularly. Look, we all need to be reading the Quran in Arabic and in the language that we understand. If you understand Arabic, good. Either way, we should have a connection with the Quran on a regular basis, and we're with our phones all day long. Why not download the Quranly app? It's highly addictive, and you will really enjoy it, like I do, and most other people do. Quranly, guys. Download Quranly. Yes, I recommend Quranly app. Brother Noah, why do you recommend the Quranly app? If you're disturbed by the thoughts of solipsism, should you try and debunk it or just ignore it as viswas? It doesn't even elevate to a doubt. What the hell is it? I mean, it's such a irrational thing. Why would anyone be bothered by it? First Native American Muslim. So are you a Native American Muslim, brother? So you've been thinking about the brain in a vat hypothesis. What about it? I mean, look, Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. Or another way of putting it is, I am conscious, therefore I am. Like, there's still something, right? I mean, the world is still real. It doesn't say the world's not real. Do you know a book that's called Renock to Success or something? I'm a butcher. What? The book is a positive mental attitude. No, but I'm all about positive mental attitude. The atheist claims that complexity, like our brain, according to them, is explained that it was developed through simple cells developing to complex, according to them. Yeah, that's what they are claiming. So what? Like, what's the evidence for that claim? Okay, you're a sister. Welcome. A better take is, what is your take on the UAP hearing that took place in the US? Whistleblowers testified under oath. Okay. Um, let me try and see if we can get some success here. Yeah, go on. Keep commenting, guys. Man. What do you mean by supernatural? What do you think of Deacon by Jacques Derrida? Do you think it's valuable knowledge for a Muslim with the intention of transcending it? I have no idea what that is. Layman to follow a school of thought. I don't really answer questions on fiqh, but yeah, of course, we all have schools of thought. So I always make a distinction between evolution and Darwinism. Evolution, I mean, Darwinism is a valid scientific theory. I've said that many, many times. Evolution is a fact. Darwin's theory of evolution has problems. And, you know, have a theological stance as well. We believe in miracles. So we can accept it as a valid theory, but we don't have to accept everything theologically. UAP hearings, America. Let me see. By the way, have you guys done my zombie scrolling course? Oh man, how do I comment? Zombiescrolling.com. Do my course, brothers and sisters. You will enjoy it. Now let's see what's going on here. The heck? What the heck? All right. I need to ring. I saw you in Uxbridge recently. Was I in Uxbridge? Trying to remember. Yes, who am I trying to ring? Yes, Imran. He is the man for the aliens. What's your thought on Donald Hoffman's book? I haven't read it. Salam, bro, where are you? I'm on a live stream, and the guys are asking about this alien UAP hearing. What the hell is that? Yeah, can I send you the link so you can jump on? What the heck? I'm literally live, by the way, right now. I'm Bro, can I not just put you on loudspeaker? You can explain it. Just 1 minute. Oh, fine. We need to do a live stream on this thing, yeah? Yeah, we need to do it. All right, fine. But at least leave a leave a Listen, just leave a comment. Leave a comment. All right, fine. Salam. I just spoke to the man, Imran Hussain. So he's going to leave a comment for anybody. What happened to the debate with Professor Dave? That is April the 3rd. I'm just sending Imran the live. What the? It's the first time I'm doing a live that's portrait. Guys, did you find this live when you were zombie scrolling? Can you tell me that, please? Did you find this live when you were zombie scrolling? That's my question. Be honest. Did you find this live while you were zombie scrolling? Yes or no? Yes on X. Okay, good. Okay, I'm leaving the comment for Imran. Yes, no, yes, no, I have notifications. What do you think of Abdus Sabur Shaheen's idea on the evolutionary theory's compatibility with Islam? I haven't read that book. I scrolled one time and I clicked. No, actually, I was looking for something to watch. Salam. Atheists are pseudo intellectual. Yeah, no reason to swear, brother. This time you uncover top down occult origins of atheism. There's a rod. There's a rod. Bro, just tell us about the UAP, man. Tell us about the UAP. Go on. What is this UAP about? Join the live. Stop being like, you know what I mean? How do you deal with epistemic anxiety? Through epistemic certainty. Like, you constantly search for arguments against your own core beliefs. Why would you bother doing that? Just pray Salah, do Adhkar, be a good Muslim. Okay, you'll join in 5. Okay, good. I'll send you the link. I will send you the link. Oh, man. Imran, there's the link to join, bro. You don't need to reject evolution. You can work within that framework. Were we ever able to prove Adamic exceptionism? Exceptionism. There is no proof in science. Ooh la la. Is science scientific? Good question. Very good question, brother. The heck's going on? Imran, are you going to join or what? Oh, man. Who's watching this on X, by the way, guys? Okay. We've seen Hamza in the ring. Are you up next? No, 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 no. That's not for me. Not for me. Forget that. Do you like sardines? No, I don't. No, 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 no. For me. Assalamualaikum. I sent the link in the thingy. You can't take your do you know how I jump off StreamYard to send you the link? No, 1 second. Where's Mr. Imran Hussain? Bro, people are asking about this, bro. People need to know the answer. Yeah, yeah, go on. There you go. Join. Yeah, I sent it. What's up? Go on. All right, Salam. No, I didn't. That's the other number. Come on, man. Join, Salam. All right, we're gonna have Imran Hussain join and talk to us. Oh yeah, we have Mr. Imran Hussain to stay. There he
You won't be able
is.
to see me.
There he is.
Just on a stroll outside.
You look like one of those villains in the Marvel stuff, you know.
That's it.
Yeah, there he is. There he is.
Man, it's cold outside.
You said to me you were babysitting. Did you
I,
just leave the
I
house?
was. I abandoned the babies to come and join you.
You joker.
Yeah, man, what's happening?
The usual, man. Listen, everybody's asking about this alien stuff.
Yeah, it's finally picking up now, isn't it? Becoming more
Yeah, bro,
mainstream.
what is it? Please explain it. Explain it to the people. What is this alien stuff?
So look, there's enough resources we've put out already. There's a few videos on my channel, and then there's the Sapiens article that we published
Bro,
on the
can you
Jin.
come in light? Can you come in light? Because you just disappeared in dark.
Bro, it's impossible. It's hard because I'm outside, and there's no sort of bright street lights here
Bro,
that can.
okay, just stay. Fine. Just
So
find
just you
some.
have to make do.
Listen, go to King Street.
Yeah, then you'll hear me, isn't it?
No, go to King Street and then just go into the naan shop.
No, I can't do that, bro. They're working.
Do it. Go there and
They're
say, I
working.
demand a naan. By the way, if you're from Southall, if you want to beat up Imran right now, he's walking around.
I'm on the streets outside.
He's vulnerable. He's holding the phone.
Yeah, I like doing my little strolls at night.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Go on. Tell us,
yeah.
bro.
Yeah, so look, most of the resources are out there already. We've put out a lot of stuff on this. But in a nutshell, I think why people are asking now is
Listen,
because
wait
there
1
was a.
second. There's a guy. There's a guy called Dahir. He lives in Southall. Bro, listen.
Oh
What you
dear.
need to do is you need to find Imran. You need to find
Yeah,
Imran. You need to punch him
you
in
have
the face.
you have to
Astaghfirullah. Not
locate.
punch him in the face. You need to just kick him one. Just give him a good kick.
Oh man.
Rob him of his phone live. Anyway, carry on. Carry on.
So yeah, there's. I think the reason most people are asking now, bro, is because there was a recent hearing that took place 2 days ago, not 2 days ago, about a week ago. It wasn't the first congressional hearing. If I'm correct, it was the third congressional hearing in America. So
Right, right,
congressional
right.
hearings in America that take place on different topics and subjects and issues. This one specifically was on the UAP. So there's been three, and basically what these hearings are about is you've got whistleblowers that have come out and have said that yes, this stuff is real, it's going on. We don't know what it is. There's elements of the government that have spent millions of dollars trying to study this stuff, and it's basically in black projects. And yeah, it's been kept from the public. The same story. And there's been more whistleblowers that have come out. So the Congress is taking it more seriously now. The American people are taking it more seriously, if you like, and therefore they're holding these congressional hearings, which have been very popular. So they've probably been the busiest out of any hearings that have taken place. And in this one specifically, you had Lou Elizondo, who basically was one of the first main whistleblowers to come out and say that look, this stuff is real. He was working on a project. So that's what it was about in a nutshell. Nothing really too much that's come out. It pretty much was the same as what happened in the previous hearings last year and the one before. But what's happening over time is that more and more people are taking it seriously now because one, there's congressional hearings. Two, very credible people are coming out and talking about this stuff. So you've got these CIA agents, government officials. You've got academics. You've got serious reporters who've been talking about this. So a lot of people of credibility are now, talking about this and discussing it. So where we stand at the moment, I guess, in a nutshell, is according to the American government and what they put out and mainstream now. This is mainstream stuff. We're not talking about guys wearing tinfoil hats sitting in Wembley somewhere like yourself, maybe on a Sunday afternoon. We're talking
That's
about
right.
really credible people. What they're basically saying, yes, there is a phenomenon that's taking place. There is something that's real, that's out there, that we don't know what it is. Uh, and it's real, but we just don't know what it is. We're just trying to figure it out. And the reason it's freaking them out and they're paying so much attention to this is because they see it, some of them see it at least as a national security risk. Because you've got these objects, that are flying around without any control, running circles around, some of the best technology in the world, American fighter jets and so on and so forth. And they can't do nothing about it. And that's freaking them out. So, they're concerned. If it's adversarial technology of China or whatever else, any other government, then it's a problem for them because that means that they've been outdone technologically, which is not going to sit well with any sort of leading nation in the world. And if it's not, then they still need to figure out what it is. If it is something more exotic, say, for example, hypothetically speaking, say it's say if it is aliens from another planet, technologically advanced civilizations, yeah, then there's an arms race, basically, bro. Then there's a case, and this is one of the things that's come out through some of these leaked documents, that not only America, but many other superpowers of the world have been aware of this stuff. They've been studying it for decades. So you've got China, Russia, and other countries, and they are all trying to reverse engineer this stuff because apparently some of this stuff is crashed. Now, one of the claims that was made in the past two congressional hearings was that we have crashed craft that we have in our possession. The American government has in its possession, not internally within the government, but they have pushed it out to the private sector, basically. So private agencies and corporations. So it goes into black, basically, because it's no longer within the government. It's in the private sector, so no one can get access to it. Only the people in the know can. And they've been trying to reverse engineer it. So it's an arms race, apparently, between some of these leading nations to see who could first reverse engineer this stuff and take advantage of this technology. So that's a fear as well, right, for them. So it's a really fascinating story, bro. I'm just trying to sort of summarize it for everyone. But I guess from our perspective, what really drew my attention to this whole thing was that, okay, how? Because one of the things they were saying is, look, this could be a challenge to world religions, basically. Yeah. So because if there's this, civilization that's coming from another planet or whatever the case is, how would world religions respond to this? Would it shake up world religions? Would it shake up people's faith, etc.? And if you look at it from our perspective, bro, no, it wouldn't, because whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, okay, assume that's aliens from another planet, right? Islamically, we can make sense of that. It's not a problem. We can fit it within our framework easily. If it's not, and I believe it's not based on the evidence we have at hand and what's going on, and that's why I argue in the essay on the Sapiens website that we published that I think, according to what we know, that it's most likely related to the jinn.
Yeah.
And then we can make sense of it that way as well. So from our perspective, bro, it's not a case of, oh my God, we're just squeezing in the jinn explanation because we have to and we don't have an alternative. Like, for example, say the Christians, we have both possibilities open. It could be this or that. So we have no external pressure, if you like, from this perspective to explain it away as jinn. But I think if you look at the data and the evidence, that's what it suggests that that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically what's been going on. It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Keep talking for a second. I just need to send someone the link.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, look, we picked up on it. Me and Farouk, I think it's important to mention Farouk McDermott as well, because he's done a lot of, he's actually done a lot more research on this topic over the past couple of years. I mean, he's gone really deep into the whole topic and the subject. And what he
Are
also
we
came
getting
to the same
alien
conclusion.
interruption right now?
Huh?
Are we getting alien interruption?
Possibly, bro. Yeah, man.
Do you?
Farouk's done a lot of good stuff on this as well, mashallah.
Yeah, I like Farouk stuff.
You gone?
No, it's very interesting, bro. Like, the Jarl's going to be using Jin as well. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if these guys started using Jin.
Yeah, I mean, this may be some of the early stages of what's to come, bro. Obviously is in some way because it's leading up to an end point.
Mm,
Um, but it's very interesting the way it's all happening, you know. And if you look at the history of the jinn, bro, and the way they've interacted with people throughout history, I
yeah.
mean, the pattern is the same. They will always appear to leaders, people who are influential, appear to them in different forms, in forms that they were
Yeah,
that
bro.
would,
Bro, look,
yeah,
what was his name? Abu Jahl.
yeah.
One of the shayateen came in a human form to give him advice, right? If that was happening in the 7th century, why can't stuff be happening right now? Do you know what I mean? Imran, where you going? The heck happened to Imran? There we go.
Hey, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله
Hey!
وبركاته.
Walaikum salam. Something happened to Imran, bro. His thing just messed up. Brother's been abducted, apparently.
He was just sharing too much info.
Sharing too much info, bro. Sharing too much info. So what's happening with you, bro?
Allah يبارك فيك. Alhamdulillah. I was going to ask Imran a question about why, um, because like it's he's mentioning that there's technology, right, and spacecrafts and whatnot. The question that comes to mind is why would Jinn be using stuff like that?
That's
That's
a good
what,
point. They don't need it. They don't need it.
yeah.
We need to refute Imran on this, then. He's talking nonsense.
Uh,
His phone switched off as well. I hope he didn't get robbed. I
oh
egged on
man,
someone in Southall where he was living. I egged them to attack Imran. So he's
I
just,
noticed.
yeah. So he's gone now. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, look, I reckon, um, you know, obviously with aliens it makes sense, right? But jinns wouldn't need to. I mean, jinns go very fast,
One
and
thing I was reading about a while ago, and this is going to be really, really, really random. I don't know if you've heard of this. This is about jinn and how they do what they do.
Mm.
And this is Ibn Taymiyyah who's speaking about this. In Kitab al-Nubuwat, Ibn Taymiyyah talks about um, people flying on brooms.
Yeah.
You've heard about that before?
I've heard of on the there's a story with Ibn Taymiyyah and um there's a guy that could count how many things you have in a bag. You
Okay.
probably heard that. You heard that
No,
story,
I
yeah?
haven't heard of that one. No.
So I don't know about the broom one. I know about the magic carpet one. They used to basically people used to fly at his time apparently, and
Right.
there was this incident with the. Once you finish your story, I'll tell you of another incident with him and Jin. It's very interesting.
Well, there's not too much to say. It was just he was casually speaking about Sahara using brooms, and then of course naturally what comes to mind is pop culture, Tom and Jerry, the witch and the broom, and all that stuff, right? And so Ibn Taymiyyah is talking about it casually, and he's like, "Oh yeah, but by the way, when you see someone, floating around with a broom, it's not a broom. he's, he's like, it's not a broom, by the way. It's actually jinn. You're witnessing
Yeah,
jinn in the form of a broom." And then
yeah,
I started like, I was really curious to look up if there was anything in the West about this. And there were reports in Italy a few hundred years ago as well that speaks casually about witches on brooms. So I was like,
yeah.
this is very interesting that this is a universal thing, right? It's not something that's specific to one region. Yeah.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. And you know, when it comes to these stories of jinn and these types of things, we often hear them from the East, but here in the West, I've come
Mm,
across direct first-hand accounts of people in their families and the interactions that they've had with jinn. It's like very well known. Like this isn't,
right.
I mean, I'll give you an example. There's a guy. He's actually on the IRA YouTube channel, right? He's a
Mhm.
Scottish guy who was a documentary filmmaker for the paranormal activities that happen in haunted houses. So he used to go around looking at all these haunted houses and,
Mhm.
filming them and stuff like that. So what happened was he did this for years and years and years and years. And afterwards, he realized in the Quran, the description of the jinn matches perfectly with what he'd observed as a paranormal
Mm,
investigator, and that led him to becoming Muslim. He took his shahada, then he attended the IRA retreat, and while he's at the IRA retreat, he's telling us this story, and we thought, okay, good, this is a nice story. We switched on the camera and we recorded the story. If we
yeah.
didn't record it, that would just be one incident amongst many, many incidents, right?
Right. Right.
I'll tell you something else which is quite interesting. I wanted your thoughts on this. This is really weird, Fareed, right? I may end up saying something right now which you can refute me for, but it's a crazy, crazy story, bro. I just can't wrap my head around this story. And this story has witnesses here in Ira. So even if somebody thinks I'm like making this up, I just want you to know that there's witnesses here in the office, right? About 12 years
Yeah.
ago, we got a phone call in the office with some guy up north of England, right? Some English guy who said, I want to leave Islam. He said, I want to leave
Okay.
Islam, right? So Jamal, who works here, who's our cameraman, who everyone knows, he's a very honest guy. He's, been in the industry for decades. He basically, Riva himself, by the way, he contacted me and he said, listen, Sabur, there's a guy that wants to leave the office, right? There's a guy who wants to leave Islam.
Islam. Right.
Can you contact him back? So I said, okay, fine. So I
Yeah.
rang him back, right? And I basically said to him, okay, so why do you want to leave Islam? So he told me how he accepted Islam, and this is this part where you may end up refuting me, or I may end up saying something which is incorrect Islamically because I'm not sure about this. This is really weird what happened, right?
Okay.
What he said is that his entry into Islam was through idol worship, right? So what happened was he was following the ancient religion of the English before Christianity came. right? So the ancient religion, which was a pagan, English paganism, right? English
Yeah.
paganism didn't die out with Christianity. It got wiped out, but there's small parts of the UK where you will find fringe groups of people that are pagan, that were pagan for the last 100 years and the last 1,000 years, last whatever, right? Before
Right.
Christianity, they still exist today, right? He was part of this ancient pagan religion, and they had a bunch of gods, these little idols,
Okay.
right? Now, like the Quraysh, they had these idols, but they also believed in a supreme God, and he named his God. I don't remember what the name was, but I remember him saying a particular name. He said that God, right? And he said, one day I asked that God, and this God they believe is like above heaven, it's like transcendent, right? He said, I asked that God for guidance, and the love I had in my heart for these idols disappeared, right?
Mm.
And then he said, I started worshipping, sorry, I started looking for the true religion, and I believed in Islam because Islam teaches there's only one God, right?
Mm.
So the weird story, the weird part of the story, which Islamically for me is very confusing, and I need to ask a scholar about it, is how could he be praying to just some random vague thing, right? And then be led to Islam? Like, is it possible that someone's dua is accepted if a person is generally trying to seek out this is for me theologically a bit confusing. But the second part
Mm.
is even more bizarre. So I said to him, why do you want to leave Islam? Right? Why do you want to leave Islam? And he goes to me, well, I accepted Islam because of pure monotheism. I accepted Islam because you only worship God alone. I accepted Islam because of one God, right? This is the sort of thing he was saying to me, right? And then he said to
Mm-hmm.
me, Yet when I went to a mosque, right, they had a picture of a man, and this was some man with a turban and a long beard, and they told me I have to go to God through this man. I have to call upon this man to go to God. So he said, I want to leave Islam because if that is what Islam is, then I don't want to be a Muslim. So I said to him, listen, what you believe is that you should go to God alone. And Islam teaches you go to God alone. I said, you're upon Islam, they're not upon Islam. You don't have to go through a dead man to get to God. And so he said to me, look, I'm not going to leave Islam. That was it. He said, I'm not going to leave Islam. But the weird thing I found in that story was not just how, bad Muslims are in terms of how bad they are in terms of understanding Tawheed, but the fact that he was led to Islam while he was a mushrik, while he was praying to some vague deity. That was really, really bizarre for me. And that's the
It is.
theologically confusing part for me.
It is really strange, but I mean, there are all sorts of weird reasons for Hidayah. So, yeah, it worked for him. Alhamdulillah. Nothing more that I can say than that. But yeah, what a fascinating story.
Amazing, amazing story. I mean, we come across many of these stories. I gave you the Jin story of the Scottish guy. There's another brother who accepted Islam, and his story is that when he was around close to 20, just under 20, he was
Hmm.
actually in a forest, just drunk with his friends, and he went to take a piss, right? He just went somewhere under a tree or whatever. It was a tree, and he started just peeing there in a random forest, and he was an atheist, right?
Hmm.
And what happened was he said a demon overcame him. A demon entered his body from the tree, right? Then he was an atheist for the next 20 something years until he was around in his 30s. And then he came across one of the Dawah stalls in northwest London, the West Ealing Dawah table. A brother called Waqas has a Dawah table there. So he got Dawah, he got a copy of the Quran, he accepted Islam. And when he accepted Islam, he came upstairs to the Ira building, this building that we're in right now. And one of my friends, who is the Imam, who was the Imam of the mosque upstairs, he felt a demonic presence in the first rakat. He
Oh,
felt there was a demonic, he didn't know who it was. Then
yeah.
afterwards, he used to come to the office and speak to me. And I said, listen, and his name's Suleiman. I said, Suleiman, You know, there's this guy and he has a really serious jinn issue, right? So Suleiman said, I knew it because when I was leading the prayer, somebody I knew behind me had a bad jinn. Anyway, Suleiman started doing ruqya on him, and it was the winter time, right? It's the winter time, and in the UK it gets so cold in like December, January, extremely cold, right? And just down the corridor, he was doing ruqya on him, and he asked me, he knocked on the IRA door, he told me to come there so I can hold him just in case he starts getting aggressive or something, right? So Suleiman started doing the ruqya on this new Muslim. Remember, this is a white new Muslim with very basic knowledge of Islam, right?
Right.
He was doing the weirdest things for Eid. The first thing that happened is as soon as Suleiman started reciting the Quran, the windows were open and it was extremely cold in the room. He started sweating, like proper sweating. Then his voice changed and he started talking about himself in third person. He started saying Balfour, Balfour. His name was, the jinn's name was Balfour, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the jinn was the same jinn that entered him when he was taking a whiz under a tree all those years ago. And then when Suleiman was reciting the Quran, this jinn, not the English, not the reaver, right? This jinn would jump a few verses ahead, recite them. Suleiman would get confused. The jinn would turn around, look at Suleiman, and start laughing and said, "I beat you to it." I'm sitting there thinking, "What the hell's going on?" And I'll tell you something. Zubair, Imran, Saqib Ali, Hamza Sotsis, Murtaza. Like I can name you maybe 10 people in IRA who can corroborate who this guy is. This is like confirmed. We know who
Okay,
this
what
brother
then?
is, right? So this jinn stuff, bro, like I think it should be used in the dawah, to be honest. That's what we need to do with these atheists. Get them, get them to see some ruqya.
You know, I guess that's Imran's thing. Need to get him back.
Look what
Oh,
Imran said. Look what Imran said. Imran said, I've seen this firsthand. This brother didn't know this much Quran, yet he would complete the verses. By the way, Free, just to make you laugh, yeah.
no.
One of the brother would get ruqya, then sometimes Suleiman would knock and I would go and hold him down or just be in the
Yeah.
room when he's doing ruqya. Sometimes it would be another member of Aira because he'd do it on a different day. One day it was a brother called Zubair. Right. Zubair had never ever seen a ruqya in his life.
Okay.
That night he went home, he couldn't sleep, and he's reciting Ayatul Kursi.
Poor
That
guy.
he's Ira's accountant. So there's multiple people who saw this, you know.
Yeah, it's a dark world. Akhi, it's a dark world. Yeah, it boosts Iman, and many people want to see stuff like that. But when you get close to it, you just don't want to be around it. I don't know if that's how you feel, but
Bro, it's not fun. It is
yeah.
not fun. In fact, we used to think like, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go there. And the funny thing is that, you know, Suleiman, he's mashallah, you know, been with Ira for years, like over 10 years and stuff. He's experienced so much, like so many problems, and he actually takes it back to Salah.
Mm,
Like basically, if you're not praying your Salah, there's no point doing
mm,
Ruqya. There's literally no point
mm,
because you know you're already giving the jinn a huge power over you. So
right.
when you pray the Salah, when you do the basic things, then eventually you'll beat all these things. But the amount of problems with jinns, with non-Muslims, it goes
Mm,
undiagnosed because they don't believe in the ghaib. So they just
right.
think a person has mental health issues or whatever it is. But you know, they have serious jinn issues in the non-Muslim community.
I spoke to a physician once. This was quite interesting. He met. He was speaking with another physician, and the second one, who's like his superior, said something along the lines of, every single patient that comes to us and thinks it's a jinn problem, it turns out to actually be epilepsy.
Mm,
Okay. And he's like, this is, so he was like, this is evidence that, there's no such thing as nebs and whatnot. And then the same physician that's talking to me is saying, and that was true until I actually saw an actual case that had no medical diagnosis, and I was looking at the signs and there's nothing there. So I guess most cases would definitely be mental, or not necessarily mental, but neurological. But yeah, there are some cases that definitely do seem to have some sort of spiritual element.
Yeah, and they also get mixed because look, there are
Yeah,
some things, look, there's some things that can be diagnosed medically, right?
yeah,
And the problem that we sometimes have as the Muslim community is that we just call anything a jinn. Your son starts
right.
smoking weed, it's a jinn. Your daughter is yeah, seriously, just jinn,
Yeah,
jinn, jinn.
she's into heavy metal. It's got to be Jen.
Yeah. So, and we've been hearing jinn stories since we were children, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But I
right.
think what's really important to understand, and I often think about this: why would Allah mention jinn frequently in the Quran? Why is there so much mention of jinn? There must be a reason for this. I mean, if we look at um, you know, which of which of the chapters of the Quran can you say doesn't have any indirect or direct link to jinn? It's very difficult. It's actually very difficult. Jinn played a role in battles. Jinn played a role when it came to our father Adam alayhi salam. Jinn played a role when it comes to the lives of the Sahaba, and we have the Sahaba talking about their interaction with jinn, right? Now, all of these things, if they are not going to be major factors, right, throughout human history, why would it be mentioned in the Quran? Why would jinn be mentioned when it comes to Dajjal, right? So there was a famous science fiction writer, a British one called Arthur J. Clarke, and he said something fascinating, right? He has these different laws, right? He had law 3, which is um, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic,
Right.
right? So
Okay.
there is a link between advanced technology, jinn, magic. These things are joined at the hip. How do we know this? The most sophisticated empire that ever existed was the empire of Sulaiman alayhi salam. Way more sophisticated than what we can do today, right?
Right.
And what was he using? They were jinn. Dajjal is going to be
Yeah.
getting. I mean, I'm not sure if you've seen this really crazy AI stuff where they can bring back, like, if you give AI a picture of your loved deceased one, they can
Right.
bring up an image of them. If you give a voice, I'll tell you something crazy, bro. Absolutely crazy. If you give a voice recognition software a bunch of talks that you've done, and then you ask it to generate a new talk based upon some transcript. Bro,
Mm.
you put that audio on X, nobody will be able to tell that's not the real Fareed. Nobody can tell.
Right. Right.
That's
Right.
how good it is. The same with AI, right?
Right.
So we know that jinn are going to take the form of loved ones, right? And to try and attract people to Dajjal. All of these things, I don't see how technology is inseparable from the whole jinn phenomena. And I think it's part of I think part of Shaitan's plan is to have a lot of false positives, right? Where the Muslim community falsely diagnoses things as jinn, which are not, so that they start doubting. I actually think that's part of the plan.
Possibly. By the way, I do would like to ask you about more about what we just mentioned about our loved ones speaking or appearing, or jinn appearing in the images of our loved ones. I haven't heard that one before. What's that about?
Yeah, let me find you a reference for that. You carry on speaking while I Google it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think about this stuff too much. I mean, ever since, I mean, I've always accepted it. I've always, I haven't, by the way, I haven't really seen stuff that's too explicit. I've seen some things that I can't explain. which I'm not going to get into. Okay, but it's not something that like I've seen with my own eyes in an undeniable way. I
Allahu
know
Akbar.
multiple people
So
that
have
have.
I.
Oh, say again?
Uh, I, I'm sure you have, because most du'at have, bro. A lot of du'at seem to have jinn issues or have had jinn type experiences.
Yani, the most I could say is an indirect one. So, but I mean, again, I've met people who are not religious, yani, that barely follow the deen properly, and they've said things that are corroborated about what they've witnessed. So, too many things that I've heard. So it's something that I cannot deny. And then, yeah, without a doubt, it's something that can be used with atheists that don't believe in the supernatural. There's just too many anecdotes out there, too many testimonies out there that there's got to be something. And it seems like, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, but don't most atheists believe in some sort of supernatural thing?
I mean, see, this is really interesting. When we say supernatural, right? When we say supernatural, what are we referring to? We're
It could
referring
be,
to,
yeah,
yeah, we're referring to God. But the supernatural as a category is vastly wider than just God.
right,
So,
right,
for example, my friend, the one from who had all these jinn issues who everybody in Ira knows about,
yeah,
um, he will actually he was actually a believer in demons even as a non-Muslim. So he believed in the
mm,
supernatural. So the supernatural is anything that you believe that is not physical matter,
yeah,
right? And the problem is, if you even believe in things like consciousness, right? Like right now, if I was to take this uh whiteboard wipe or whatever it's called, this thing is not thinking about something. It doesn't
okay,
have intentionality. It doesn't
right,
think about something. It doesn't have a third person subjective experience, right?
right,
We have consciousness. We are interacting right now. Our
right,
mind is not just the brain, right?
right,
Now,
right, right,
that is, in fact, the greatest evidence against materialism, against naturalism. The
mm,
greatest
mm,
evidence we have is the very fact that we are thinking aware beings. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of Descartes' thing, I think, therefore I am,
mm,
right? I think, therefore I am. Now, I think, therefore I am is basically him doubting everything, but he couldn't doubt that there is somebody doubting. And what
right,
philosophers say is he's referring to consciousness. He's
right.
referring to the fact that he himself is conscious. So,
But
you know,
someone, what if someone says no? The I am my brain. My brain is actually thinking. It's not consciousness. It's just my brain. How would you deal with that?
well, they would be going against the fact that all of the neurobiological community currently is trying to come up with a naturalistic explanation of consciousness, and they haven't been able to. Can this thing think about something? No, it can't. It's just, a dead innate thing. So
Right,
likewise, we have intentionality. We can think about something, right? That is not explainable from a what they say is a physicalist account or naturalistic account. The only thing that these atheists can do is what Daniel Dennett tried to do. Well, not all atheists, but what some new atheists, new atheism followers are going to try and do, is say consciousness is an illusion. It doesn't actually exist. There's no evidence for this, but they literally say consciousness doesn't actually exist. So, oh,
mm.
there's Imran. He's back. Let's add him back. Imran, are you back?
Yes, I am. Assalamu alaikum. Islam Fareed, how are you,
Alaikum
bro?
salam.
What?
Uh, is this
What
the
the heck
first time
happened?
we've done this?
I think so.
Yeah, seems like it.
How are you, bro? You okay?
Alhamdulillah, bro. I'm glad you're here. So you're finally in the hot seat. Need to ask you why jinn are using spaceships instead of brooms.
That's the big question, bro. That's the $1 million question, as they say.
Okay.
SubhanAllah.
So
But there's
no
actually
answer. Yeah, go
there
ahead.
is actually an answer for that. It's
Okay.
something and it actually comes from a non-Muslim source, interestingly. So there is a academic named Jacques Vallée, who was one of the first guys to work on the internet back in the day. So he's an old guy now, and he's also someone that's been studying this whole UFO topic for over 4 decades. So he's recognized within the sphere of, if you can call it ufology, he's recognized as the top guy to go to, basically, right?
Okay.
And his conclusions after like 4 decades of studying this stuff are, number one, that this phenomenon that people are witnessing that's taking place, it's not extraterrestrials, it's not aliens from another planet. He thinks
Right.
something else is going on.
Right.
And he doesn't know exactly what it is, but at times he alludes to religions of the world and what they saw in the past. So it's probably the same phenomenon, just manifesting itself in a slightly different way in today's day and age. So his stuff's very interesting on it. And one of the things he sort of points out is, this phenomenon. So he's got another very interesting book where he goes through the history of, quote unquote, the UFO phenomenon and how people observed this all the way back centuries ago, thousands of years ago. And one of the sort of correlations that he makes is that he highlights that this phenomenon always appeared to people and revealed itself in a way which was palatable and understandable by the people of any given era in history, any given time. And now, if you look at it, now it's appearing in the form of extraterrestrials, aliens, these highly technologically advanced beings, because we live in a techno-secular age, bro. We live in an age of technology and science. And if you look at, again, I was just mentioning this to Sabur before I went off, that if you look at the history of the jinn, they've always appeared to human beings with the ultimate objective of misguiding them and taking them away from the worship of Allah. And they've done this historically speaking, they've appeared in the form of gods, and many people have taken them as gods and ended up worshipping them. The Arabs, even at the time, even before Islam.
Sorry to interrupt, Imran. You know the brother that we're referring to?
Yes.
His jinn Balfour, it used to claim that it was in an idol. It basically made itself into an object of worship in South America.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, bro.
Yeah, and by the way, Fareed, the point that you asked me about, I found the reference for it about the jinns appearing as the parents, right? So this is in Ibn Majah, and I'll send you the exact wording of it. So the Dajjal will ask a Bedouin, will you believe that I am your Lord if I bring your parents back to life? The Bedouin will reply, yes. The devils that accompanied Dajjal will assume the appearance of his parents and say to the Bedouin, son, believe in him and follow him, he is your Lord. The Bedouin will thus be deceived into believing in Dajjal. So this is the sorts of things that we were talking about, that if in the time of the Sahaba the jinns were super active, right, then why wouldn't they be super active now? Oh, Farouk's here. Let's get him to join as
MashaAllah.
well. I'll
Get him
send
on
him
as
the
well.
link. I'll
But
get him.
Sorry, Fareed, just to finish the point, bro. You asked about things. So, just to wrap it up without getting too long. One of the things he was highlighting was that it's this phenomenon that he's referring to appears in different ways throughout history. And if you look at the history of the jinn, they've appeared to people in different forms, and therefore people have ended up worshipping them. Because they do mislead people and take people away from the worship of Allah. And it seems like if the shayateen were to choose a disguise or a form of appearance in today's day and age, it makes sense that they will take on this, technologically superior type of appearance.
But okay, so Imran, I got to push back on that a bit.
Sorry, just before that, Imran, can you send Farouk the link, because I don't have his number?
I'll send it to him.
The stream, I'll just send it to him.
Let me just hear Fareed first, bro, because when I go off to share it with him, it's gonna cut me off.
Okay, fine. Farouk, I'm sending it to you on the chat to join us. Yeah, go on, carry on.
Yes, so Imran, the thing is, at this specific moment, nothing from these claims about extraterrestrials have anything to do with idol worship or worship of the aliens or any sort of misguidance. Like, where's the misguidance in this whole thing?
There is, bro. There's for example, there's a doctor named D.W. Pasulka. She's written 2 books on this topic. She's a religious studies professor, and she's basically looking at this from a religious studies perspective. And in her first book, if I'm not mistaken, she actually made the case that we're seeing the advent of a new religion, where people have written books on this now. Farouk, there's one guy, his name's not coming to my mind. He has experiences regularly. He sees these lights and orbs that communicate with him apparently, and they're starting these new cults, new religions. There's another guy who has this movement called CE5, where he takes people out into the desert. And this guy is from high up in the government originally, and now he takes people out into the desert in America, in Nevada, and basically they do these rituals and if you look at some of these rituals, there's clips of them online, they play some of these old, from Hindu chants and stuff, and then they call upon these beings and entities, and then people take pictures and they see stuff in the sky and stuff like this. So the way she sees it, it's an advent of a new religion, where some people, at least on the sort of, not on an academic level, people are turning to these things and submitting to these things and wanting to worship these things and calling these things and seeking benefit from these things and all of this type of stuff. So there is a very interesting sort of the work on this that's already coming out. D.W. Pasulka's work on this is very interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting. Didn't expect you to have an answer for that one, Akhi.
No, bro, there's a lot of stuff like that. There's actually a lot of stuff. That's one of the really interesting parts of this, bro, where most of the common people in America, at least in America for now, globally it may follow suit as well eventually, but they are actually it's like the hippies of the 70s, bro. They used to refer to them as their space brothers. They would smoke weed and crack and go out into the fields and look for these alien, they term them space brothers. That's what they used to call them. And they used to have these experiences, right? Obviously some of them may be due to the psychedelics. Allah knows best how.
I don't see
how this is another discussion.
Are space brothers when they're trying to flipping probe them.
Exactly. And by the way, that happens to most people.
Yes.
Bro, just before I forget, just one thing I want to mention quickly. There is a guy. He's written a book called Communion. Now, this guy he's a writer. His name, Farouk will tell me his name straight away, but he's a writer. He wrote many non-fiction books, horror books, and he started having experiences with these beings that started to come and abduct him and stick probes into him and do all of this type of crazy stuff. And he actually wanted it eventually. He was looking forward to it. He didn't want it to stop. It's mad. Yeah, these people, they become, bro, it's because these people are so desperate for spiritual experiences that when they have one, even if it's negative, they can't get enough of it. May Allah protect us, man.
Amen.
What this reminds me of? Farouk's here. Let's get him.
Yo, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Oh, it's late in the day, so I'm not going to put my video on, boys. I've had a long day at work, and I'm looking.
I think that's what me and Fareed are doing as well, bro.
Yeah, I don't. It's a smart move. We're not young and handsome looking like you, Sabor, man. We got
You're muted. You're muted, yes, Sabor.
Just down the corridor is where the Jin Rukia stuff was happening. Imran, do you remember?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was in one of those sessions.
Allah protect us. Yeah, wonderful little how can I put it? Little podcast. I don't know what you would call this. Little like random room podcast, as it was. MashaAllah, Sabor, may Allah bless you, akhi. Nice to talk to you, Fareed, man. Alhamdulillah. And Imran, MashaAllah. Long time we've been working on this, man. So may Allah bless you, bruv. I was just enjoying the room, and Sabor's brought me on. So, but yeah, fascinating topic, and especially with the government over there where you are, Fareed. Are you based in the States or are you Canada?
Oh no, I'm in the Middle East. I'm in Bahrain.
SubhanAllah, how come you sound like you're from like the United States, bro?
Canadian.
Okay, when you were saying fascinating stuff about your government, I was like, well, Bahrainis are like hiding aliens, or what's going on? I was like, you had me there for a second. I didn't think we were that advanced, bro.
Actually, I wouldn't put it part. No, I'm only joking. I don't think the Bahrainis would hide it, man. To be fair.
I don't think there's much that's going on here for us to be visited. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, if you're referring to the spiritual type of aliens, then yeah, it seems like we do have quite a bit over here. But I would
say that this is like the modern iteration. This is a perennial thing. One of the beautiful hadith of the Prophet ﷺ talking about this. And just to paraphrase to make it easy, because the Prophet ﷺ describes him as three ways. He says that there's those that fly, the ones that take the forms of snakes and dogs, and one that comes and goes. And that particular aspect there, the coming and going, is something which, as you referred to, Imran, when you talked about the professor, I forgot his name.
Which one? Nolan?
Passport to Magnolia.
Valet.
Yeah, Dr. Jacques Vallée, he mentions and he brings evidence like data to support the idea that this is something that comes and goes. It's not a standard thing that it's not like science, right? Science is a repeatable thing. These things will be there and they'll show or exhibit some of the strange qualities they have, like the speed that they have and the flight that they have. And this all covered in a great book by Dr. Umar al-Ashqar, who the World of the Jinn and Devils. Really great book. He goes into all the old books, the mothers of the books, and he pulls out all those gems for us, mashallah. They made it really easy to research this topic. But so he said that this is something which data supports them coming and going. He doesn't mention the hadith of the Prophet, but that's something which the Prophet said, and it's something that he applied to them, that there's sort of like a thing that comes and goes. And we even see it, like you mentioned earlier, Farid, about the broomsticks. Ibn Taymiyyah, his works on all topics, to be fair, but in particular the jinn, when he writes about it, when he talks about it, very fascinating. And he talks about them like
as well.
Sorry?
Very casual as well, the way he puts
That's what I was going to say, nonchalantly. Like, he just chucks it in there. Oh, by the way, there was a dude whose donkey was flying to Hajj. This is a famous story, right? Allegedly, this uncle, this old man from, North Arabia, he used to fly to Hajj on a donkey. Now, you say this story, and immediately we're all going to be laughing, saying this is some sort of Sufi myth, yeah? But Ibn Taymiyyah mentions it like it was a well-known fact. Like you said, like nonchalantly, just casually, oh, there was a guy who used to... And what happened was, according to the story, is that when his father passed away, the son inherited the donkey. So he took the donkey for Hajj. He's like, I'm going to take over from my father's legacy. I'm going to ride this donkey to Hajj, yeah? So he gets on the donkey, and it took him out of the town into the, an empty area, like a deserty area. And it stopped. And he's like, come on. He starts hitting it, like, come on, fly. And the story goes, he gets off the donkey, and the donkey speaks to him. It says, your father, he used to pray 2 rakat to me in the morning. Yeah, he said, you used to do 2 rakat, two units of prayer for me. And if you do the same, I'll fly you to Mecca, and you can perform Hajj like your father used to. And he took his sword and he killed the donkey. And he went back to his town and he exposed his father for being a mushrik. Now, Ibn Taymiyyah just mentions this story, and there's many things that he mentions. There's another one, and this is one I really like mentioning because it ties in so well with this story that's developing in the American government. So you have Ibn Taymiyyah, he talks of this case of a Sufi master who repented. He was a guy who used to... was involved in evil, misguiding the people. And of the misguidance that he used to participate in, and this is, I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, Sabor, but it's filthy. One of the acts that it used to come in the form of a black dog with a white dot on its head. So this Sufi master said, this dog came to me, had a white dot on its head, and it said to me, if of the things it would make him do was sodomize children. Okay, and we know that like everyone's desperate to find out what's on the Epstein list and why amongst Hollywood and these type of things there's some sort of like sickness to do with children and abusing children. Well, if you cast your mind back to the day of Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah and the power that the Muslims wielded in that time, they were that they were the superpower of the world. Those individuals, they were like the Hollywood of the day. The Sufi master, he was like, the top actor of the time. So he was representing that sort of world. Anyway, that's just a side little issue. These jinn would make...
Sorry, before I cut you off, Farouk, remind me to talk about Aleister Crowley's Thelema religion and the sex, the link between sex and magic.
Yeah, and
crazy.
also
Yeah,
you're going to
after you
find
finish.
out that the rocket program is linked in with the Thelemites and this sex magic because the whole rocket program in Russia and also in America was born from people who were, well, one definitely Jack Parsons, who's the father of rocketry in America. He was a student of Aleister Crowley and he practiced sex magic, believe it or not.
He did some despicable things, bro, with his own pets and his own mother, bro. You can't say the stuff online, but yeah.
No, yeah, it's
Bro, there's
disgusting.
There's a link between degenerate sex and magic. It's been there for centuries.
Mhm.
And Aleister Crowley is just a steroid version of that.
I would say that modern day iteration of it is like Hollywood, because people become obsessed with Hollywood movies and, you know, the invented stories that come out of there, and people spend thousands, if not more than that, and the millions that are made from this type of thing, and it's almost like a magic. It turns people into, you know, lunatics. There's people screaming and wailing at like someone who's just on a stage singing. It's kind of bizarre. But going back to the Sufi master just briefly, because I want to share this while Farid's still around. So this Sufi master, what would happen was this jinn, this dog, but it was a jinn. It would take his form, and it would like help his murids. So they would be in dire straits or something would happen, and he had always told them, you know, call on me when you're in trouble. So they would call on their sheikh, and he would appear from the sky, or he would appear from nowhere and save them or help them in that situation. And what would happen was the dog, he's telling Sheikh al-Islam all of this, the Sufi master. This dog would come back and report to him what it had done for him on his behalf, so that when his murid would come, he would tell them, oh, this happened and I came and I did this, and they would believe him. Well, just a little side story. Another one told his followers that when I die, I'm going to do my own ghusl. And Sheikh al-Islam said that for his janazah, yeah? And Sheikh al-Islam said that this was a jinn who told him to do this. A shaitan told him that to tell his murids this. And lo and behold, when he passed away, the shaitan came in his form and prayed the janazah for him. Yeah. Now going back to this master, this is the really fascinating part. He said that the shayateen, the jinn, they gave him a device, and he describes it. He doesn't have the words like we do today, but he describes this device, and he says it was a smooth, shiny glass over a liquid. Okay, and it would show him his murids. He'll be able to see his murids, and I think in that there's like two places where that I know of where Sheikh al-Islam mentions this. There's probably more, yeah. But I think it's in Al-Majmu. He mentions that
that's
effectively,
yeah.
There is a version of it in Al-Majmu. There is a version of it, but there's certainly in the Friends of Allah and the Friends of Shaitan.
Okay.
Yeah, and he says that that he would be shown his murids, and he would ask these things questions. He would talk to it, and the jinn would give him answers through it, and he'd be able to see and communicate with the jinn. And when you like break it down to its, you know, necessary parts, right? It sounds identical to a modern mobile phone. What's fascinating about it? Yeah. What's fascinating for me, anyway, is that there's some individuals who hold high office in the American government. And their claims, one was a guy called Colonel Corso, very fascinating guy. If you go hear about his story, he's the one who, he effectively claimed that the technology we recovered from these things that fell out of the sky, and in some cases they literally just landed and just left it there for them to discover. That technology is what led to modern technology. And it's actually something which we discovered and we didn't invent. You know, and it was something we reverse engineered. Colonel Corso, he said that the microchip is one such example of that, and he said that the microchip or the computer chip requires a system for it to be functional. So you need to have access to a program, and that program only exists within the microchip. And he was saying that like one begets the other, and you wouldn't know the one exists without having the other first. He said that's how it's like clear evidence. This is something we found and we just copied and reverse engineered. And he and other people in the modern day, like Louis Elizondo has alluded to it, Grush has alluded to it, but Colonel Corso for sure, he said that modern technology is a derivative technology, that's something that we discovered from another race. Which I find that the fact that we have this story from Sheikh al-Islam, and indicating that perhaps this, the technology we have today is something which has existed for much longer and been held by another, being that's capable to hold it or invent it or build it, as Allah describes them as builders. I just thought, that story blew my mind.
Yeah.
It is
Muhammad
wonderful.
Farooq, you're gonna keep me up.
Yeah, sorry, brother.
I was looking forward to a peaceful night. You're gonna keep me up for a bit. So I think
What's the time? What's the time there for it?
It's midnight, akhi. It's like
Oh,
20
subhanallah.
times midnight. But yeah, Jazakallah khairan Sabr for having me on. This was a fascinating conversation. Perhaps one I could have lived without for a few years, but yallah, it is what it is. I'll catch
May
you
Allah
guys
bless
some
you,
other
bro.
time, inshallah.
Jazakallah
Like
khair, Fareed. Allah bless
Well,
you, man. Salam alaikum.
you can't not leave a comment and then not expect to receive an invite for a chat. It's best for you to
Straight as night.
just hide and not comment.
Subhanallah.
It's all good. Yallah, assalamu
Assalamualaikum.
Astaghfirullah. Farouk, I think it'll be interesting also because it'll be interesting to also mention what to really bring this home, what the Christians within the American government, those are referred to as the Collins elite, basically within the American government, the guys that really pull the strings, what they believe about this phenomenon, and they were the ones that actually told Elizondo to basically shut up and don't talk about this and stay away from this. And they asked him, have you not read your Bible? So these guys know, and they obviously they think it's the demons or fallen angels as they're referred to, right? They think it's the fallen angels and this is demonic and people should stay away from it. And that's why they don't want people to study this and look into this. Maybe because they have engaged this phenomenon already and they've recognized what it is. So I think that's a very interesting element too, that it's not only just the secular minded in the government that are now dealing with this and grappling with this and interpreting this as aliens and alien technology because that's all readily fits into their worldview. They are actually staunch Christians within the American government as well, who have a coalition, a group within the government who actually posit that this is demonic. Christian academics have been saying it's demonic, it's fallen angels for at least 5 decades, man.
Allahu Akbar. This is I think personally this is like an indicator that we kind of have what you might call allies to a certain extent in the government. I honestly think, and I've pondered this a lot, like Imran, we've talked about it for a number of years now, but the closer we get to like the revelation, and it's not even the revelation, people have already said that it exists and it's going on. It's more to do with the mainstream media catching up and reporting on it, like they do report on, let's say, a Hollywood star's famous divorce that happened like a year or two ago. I don't know if you remember that pirate dude, right? It was all over the news. You couldn't avoid it. When they report on this topic to that extent, it's going to be groundbreaking. It's going to change everything. And I think the Collins elite, as you refer to them, are people who are a lot wiser than perhaps some of their counterparts or the people that they work with. Because this, I'll share something we've used that was discussed today. And we've just talked about this before, Imran, but it was on Twitter or X. One of these guys, he's claimed that he read documents, and Bob Lazar even alludes to this, but he read documents that due to the nature of the phenomena and its advanced technology, that Isa alayhi salam was the product of artificial conception, okay? And that Isa alayhi salam isn't, the evidence suggests that Isa wasn't created by God in the way that we understand it. Kun fayakun, yeah, being it becomes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to create Isa without a father, and he did. But they're saying no, that the prophets have been misunderstood and Jesus' story has been misunderstood. And we have evidence today, because we can artificially inseminate women, that this is what happened in the time of Isa. And that's why some religious fundamentalists inside the government are keeping this secret because it destroys their religion. That's what was levied out today. That's what was, spoken about. And I feel that claims like this and claims to do with Adam alayhi salam are going to be made. That Adam was, the result of an experimentation, or as I think Joe Rogan calls it, like an engineered ape. That the children of Adam, that we are developed in a lab rather than created by the Lord Most High, right? So that's why these Collins elite allegedly are keeping it secret, because the truth can't be handled. Yeah. On the other hand, the Collins elite are probably doing the right thing, because these type of questions don't necessitate that is the answer. Rather, it just sows confusion among mankind. That just because there's evidence that you can artificially inseminate women today, because we have the technology to do so, doesn't necessitate that's what happened to Isa. And what Isa claimed is the opposite, that he is the son of man, as is in the Bible, and as we understand it, he is the Messiah, the one who is born without a father, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. So this is where it kind of creates like a little ally between us, and I think that the Collins elite, they're doing a service in a way, because it opened the door to this type of discussion, and then have it like come out in documents that the government have kept secret. It just makes it seem more credible to the what's the right word, like the conspiracy theorist. They're going to say, oh, they're trying to protect Christianity from this with this, by keeping it secret. The insiders, man, I think a lot of them are wiser than they seem. Maybe not always for the right reason they're keeping it secret, but for sure there's some wisdom behind it.
Sabor.
Dajjal's going to be using jinn to try and deceive people to show his power, like I mentioned earlier, with the bringing back the parents in the form of using jinn to bring back the parents for the Bedouin. Yeah, so he's not going to say I'm using jinn, is he? In the same way, that's what they're doing. They're hiding this technology, and the problem that we have to sort out is, amongst the true information which is out there, they put out a lot of absurdities. So, for example, say there's a government that does some act and pretends it's the enemy. It's a false flag, right? So,
Sure.
the Russian government and its involvement in some sort of attack on its own citizens, and then blaming it on the Chechens, something like that, a black flag operation, right? False flag operation. What the government will do, it will prop up a quack, right? Who will say, yeah, the Russian government is behind the, this so-and-so bombing. And what they want to do is they want to attack the Chechens or whatever it is. So they'll say the true information. And then they will say, also, the royal family is run by people who are basically lizards, right? And this happened and that happened. So then there's going to be 5-6 people who are going to be churning out all this, and every person that is shown to the public to be telling the fact that the government did a false flag operation will also say something outlandish, and then it will mix truth with falsehood. Like, it'll say this is why they did it, but then it'll also say the Chechens are master race. Like, basically, they have this tactic of discrediting conspiracy theories by putting out real conspiracy theories, by putting out absolute nonsense. And that's what we have to do with this UFO stuff. There's definitely stuff that's going on, but there's other stuff which is nonsense to distract us.
For sure. To add to what you said, funny you brought that up, because David Grush last year, he was kind of like the first sort of congressional whistleblower. Really fascinating guy, and he discovered essentially just to give you a little background, brother, there was a task force that was created by the Pentagon that was separate from what we describe as the legacy program. This is a program that's been running for years, decades, that has been keeping this information secret. David Grush, he held Title 50 clearance, which essentially meant that like he was about as high as you could get, almost, right? And his job was to brief the White House on geospatial intelligence. He was part of the National Reconnaissance Office. So because of his title that he held and the clearances that he held, he was actually brought into the UAP task force in the Pentagon, and his job was to track down these rogue programs that were developed, that keeping this secret from the Congress and from the American people. And he did. He found them and he dragged them into SCIF, they call it, a secure compartmented information facility. Essentially, it's like a place where you can talk about secure things without anything leaking out, right? So, not talking in coffee shops, but literally by law grabbing them and saying, you got to come in here and talk to me about what you know. And he found out some shocking things. And one of the things he found out was that the American government was illegally involved in a disinformation campaign within the topic of ufology. And part of that, Brother Sabor, is exactly what you described, where they're mixing truth with falsehood in order to essentially just muddy the waters. So with every truth, kind of like what the Shayateen do, right? With every truth, they mix 100 lies. So a guy who comes out with one truth, they've added to it through their false disinformation. 100 things that are ridiculous that nobody's going to buy, and therefore, and this is illegal. It's been illegal since the Watergate back in the 1970s, the Watergate scandal, when the CIA were effectively caught up in disinformation, and it was made illegal then, and they carried it on with this rogue UAP/UFO program, which exactly as you mentioned, brother, and that's why you can't. We are in that era that the Prophet said towards the end of times that we would enter into. The Prophet said something really amazing. He said that when trust is lost, wait for the hour. And you could kind of you could take that statement and, maybe 10 years you would have said, yeah, that was then. But we have entered a time, Akhi, where if I saw a video of Sabor, beating up, children, it could look so realistic that you would question whether you actually did that or not. We are in a time where you can't trust anything. And this is where the Quran becomes the anchor point for mankind. The Quran... Yeah, go on. Sorry, brother.
Yeah, no, but bro, just you've made some very fascinating points. Just wanted to add to that. We can't even trust money because now everybody is being told the fact of the matter. The fact of the matter is money has no intrinsic value. The whole thing is a sham. Bro, so it extends beyond just the AI. And when it comes to, for example, you walk down the street in London, there's a guy who's driving a car, he doesn't own it. It's all on interest. The house is on interest. Everything is running on this particular system. What is it? It's all speculation. It's all speculation. If we think the dollar is going to go down, it's going to go down.
I'll add something into that. Have you heard of this movement called the Apes?
No.
Okay, you're going to love this. It's fascinating. So a few years back, where at the height of the crypto craze, right, there was this group of investors who they're based predominantly online, and they call themselves autists. And they're just they make fun of the whole thing, yeah. But what they essentially found out was there's a mechanism within the investment, and this ties in directly what you said about value with money. They discovered that there's such a thing as where you go short on a company. So you can go long, where you buy the stock and you expect that the value of that stock would increase, right? So you buy it thinking, well, that company is going to become valuable. So you sit on it and you wait for it to go up. And this is permissible in Islam. As long as the company is involved in halal products, you can invest in it, yeah? But you can't go short because you're betting or gambling and that business is going to go down, yeah? So what these apes had done is they found out that these big hedge funds and banks and, all huge money, yeah, they all bet on these particular companies as folding during lockdown. One of those companies was called GameStop, and another one was called AMC, which is like a cinema company. Yeah, so they bet heavily Yeah, that these
Yeah,
companies
I
were going
heard
to
of them. I
fail.
heard of them.
Yeah, you heard about this, yeah? And then, but these apes, these group of investors online, they said, no, if we buy up all the stock that's available and we don't sell them when they go short, meaning how a short works is that you effectively borrow a share and you short it into the market and you plan to return it by buying back that share that you gave into, you sold into market. Say you sold it for £10, right? You borrowed a share, sold it for £10, and what you're hoping is it reduces in value, and then you buy back that share for say £2, and you give it back to the guy you borrowed it from. Yeah, what they were doing is they were borrowing more shares than existed, so they were borrowing, as you said, fake amounts, right? That don't exist. These shares don't exist. Say there's 100 shares, they've borrowed 10,000, brother. Not like 100 over, maybe even more than that, like 50 to 100 to 500 to 1,000 times the amount of actual shares that are available. So these apes, as they call themselves, they discovered this. So they bought all the shares up and sat on them, and they caused what they call a I forgot the name of it, but essentially that it causes the value of that stock to go up significantly. Why? Because people are trying to buy it and it's not available. Yeah. So anyway, it didn't work. And this really annoyed them because they're using the same system, the same market everyone else is doing, and the numbers don't lie. So they wanted to find out, well, how comes this plan of ours didn't work? Well, it's because the whole thing's synthetic. They decide what value each company is going to have beforehand. And if they don't want it to go down, it simply doesn't go down. And if they want it to go up, it goes up whether you want it to or not. It's a complete scam. And these apes, like, they've got the whole movement online. They're really interesting, fascinating to follow. Like, I've been following their story for a while. And because, like you said, it proves how false everything is. Like, we're talking down to the nitty gritty, everything's false. Every system developed by the governments and the mechanisms that we have that work, like, going to the NHS and things like that, they work because we make them work. But all the things that are system based, completely, just to finish off, completely like the stock market, like money, like these mechanisms that they use to track value in things, this is all false. It's just whatever they say it is what it's worth.
Absolutely. And this is why you always go back to assumptions. Always go back to assumptions. Someone says to you, the dollar has intrinsic value. Then you go back to the assumptions of where did they get that information from? What is it based upon? And ultimately, if the assumption is false, everything else is false. But sometimes you can have an entire economy. And imagine a city like New York with the tube stations and the skyscrapers and the taxis and the noise, and everything's being run on a false system. The whole thing is speculative, right? And this is why, when they have this fear that, oh, wait a minute, the economy is going down, let's just print more money. What is inflation? Inflation is when they've printed too much money. It's an absolutely crazy system, but somehow they've made it work. They've actually made it work. We're going to have to end the live stream now because I'm going to have to finish off. Imran, Farouk, do you want to give your concluding remarks?
No, I think we should do this properly, inshallah, again, because it's such a big topic. And, if there's a demand for it, then we should definitely cover it in detail. And I think like I said to you last year, bro, it's going to get big over time, over the next couple of years. We're seeing it already. People are now, starting to hear about it and ask questions about it. So whenever you want, bro, we can get Farouk on and do a full session on this topic.
Yeah,
I would do that if you're up for it, Sabord. Obviously, it's down to your times, guys.
Yeah, what I want to do is I want to break you off into sections. So I want to do Aleister Crowley and Thelema and that religion separately. Then I want to do something like modern day astrologers separately, because this is big stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to go into the magic of ancient Greece separately. It should be separated out, and then we can link up these different live streams. Or else what ends up happening is that people find it hard to navigate when they watch this afterwards where we're going.
Yeah.
Good point.
Inshallah.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair for having me on, by the way, brothers. May Allah bless you. I was scrolling through and I saw it earlier and I was like, dude, I didn't know you were talking to Imran.
You were scrolling.
Bro, Yeah.
Zombie scrolling.
Yeah, no, I go to my subscribed because that's where all the stuff I care about is. And obviously, I'm subscribed to you, support man. So I saw you on. I was like, and I always jump on when the brothers are talking. So, and I didn't know you were talking about this. And when I did, I was well boosted, man. So, man, Allah bless
Inshallah.
you all, man. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. All right. Jazakallah khair, guys.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Imran, catch you soon, brother. Yeah.
Salam, bro.
And
Take care,
support.
inshallah.
And you
Assalamu
too,
alaikum.
guys. Assalamu alaikum.